How to cousins, it's Rusty the Reseller here, and we have brought you an awesome video today. This one is all about fine jewelry. Silver, gold, pocket watches, gemstones, and the like. It's very much like the last video we did. It was on costume jewelry. If you haven't seen that yet, please check it out. We're going to go through and show you how to inspect these items to determine their value and just to know what you have. This is good to evaluate your own possessions. Maybe something's handed down and you don't know much about it, but also good to know when you're out and about, whether you're looking to resell or not, when you're looking at items like this, you'll know exactly what they are. Let's jump right into it. Let's go find some treasures. Well, folks, starting off today, I wanted to show you, we're going to go through a variety of things. We're going to go through some fine jewelry that's decent quality, and then we're going to move on to some really nicer stuff down here at the bottom. But this is just stuff that, like, as nice pieces that kind of fit a certain style come through the warehouse. I throw some in here, and then I go through when I have time to sell them individually or in lots. Getting on later in the video, we're going to go all through various types of watches, like watches and pocket watches, because I've had some really cool success with those lately also. But to start off, we're going to look at some various things, some brooches, some bracelets, little pins, stick pins, earrings, stuff. But we're going to evaluate these. I'm going to show you where to look and why they can have value. And this applies to anything. Maybe you got a hold of of something like this, like an old jewelry case, a jewelry box from a loved one, someone who passed on, or you inherited something, and it's full of stuff that maybe isn't something you're going to wear or take care that much about. You kind of hate to sell it because, you know, it was grandma's or whatever, you got an attachment to it. Or maybe you're like, you know, I would sell it, I just don't know. I don't know where to start. How do I know where to start? How do I know what it is? How do I know what it's worth? How can I trust somebody? Well, listen, I'm not, this channel is not dedicated to making you become a customer of mine, okay? I do fine selling things out in the ether, right? On the internet, online, on eBay, locally. So I don't need I'm not trying to make you guys customers of mine. So, you know, obviously take anything with a grain of salt, folks, but the information I'm giving in this is intended to help you. I'm not trying to make you, you know, become a buyer necessarily of mine. But let's get into this. I want to show you some of these things. And we're going to look at a lot of silver here this morning in the first part of this video. And you can see this right here is like a little brooch, a little pin, and it's shaped, it's kind of cool. It's a little Art Nouveau-y. You got the flowy curves of the hair. You've got the profile of a woman in a little pin. The pin itself, as you can see, extends beyond the exterior of the brooch, which is one telltale sign that this could be an older piece. Oftentimes those pieces were made like that past. Now this one is new enough that it has a newer pin setup, a safety catch here, but it still has the look. It's made to look like the Art Nouveau style. And you can see right here underneath, let me see if I can zoom in on this, right here, come on now, you pesky stinker. There we go. You can see it says 925 right there. 925. 925 is 925 parts out of 1,000, and 925 is the number mark made for sterling silver. You'll see a lot of pieces in here that will say other things. Sterling itself, it'll say SS sometimes. That was a decent piece. Here is another beautiful silver piece. This is you know, sort of totes the line between like actually various styles have components in here. It's approaching sort of an Art Deco thing, but you still have a little bit of a Victorian and even a little bit of Art Nouveau, although the lion as a you know, central figure is not really an Art Nouveau piece. This is an unmarked piece, I believe, unless I'm missing it on here. I've tested it. I know that it is sterling silver. Sometimes that mark, as we'll see later in this video, can be on the pin itself. It can be on the hinge here or on the place where it clasps. but more often than not, it's on the piece itself. And this is tarnish, and you get this kind of like this yellowed sort of look. It looks and is tarnishing just like sterling silver would. This is an anomaly piece. I'm not exactly sure what it's for, but it is also sterling silver. It's beautiful. It's very, really cool with the dark color on the inside, but there is no broken spots that I can see on it. I'm not sure what it was made for. I'm wondering if the center here is open because this was supposed to be on top of something. I'm just not quite sure. But again, a scratch test indicated that this was silver. These are a couple of unique pieces in the beginning that don't have marks, and you need to know how to do a scratch test. I will actually show you with gold later in this video how to scratch things and test them for metal content. Let's get another piece here. This piece is beautiful. Look at the green and the swirls here. This sort of totes the line between costume and fine. You've got a stone here that is a synthetic stone, and you've got a piece that's quite ornate. Again, the pen, as you can see, extends beyond, and this is an example of definitely an older piece. It's open backed here, as you can see, and the pen itself is just a very basic hook. So this would go back behind like this and into place. However, it's not usually very reliable. That thing can pop off, as you can imagine, which is why there's been advancements in that. But it says on the back here, instead of a brand and instead of saying gold or silver, it says made in Czechoslovakia. And so this is a Czech piece of jewelry. Technically speaking, I guess you could call it costume jewelry, although it is gold filled. It has a gold filling on the outside of it. But it's a beautiful piece. Don't come across these that look just like that all that often. Here's a wonderful example of, I'm just kind of going randomly through here, and of course I'm going to get pieces all wrapped around each other and stuck, because why not? Oh, and man, look at this. The more I try to grab it, the more it gets stuck in here. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? I think it's because this piece, this beautiful piece, wanted to be highlighted first. It was wrestling around and vying to be competition. So why not? You know what? Sure. You put in the effort, I'm going to reward you here. This is a sterling silver necklace, and you can tell that because on the clasp up here, if I can unfold her for you, right here in this spot, it says 925 on it. Okay, let's see if it'll get this doggone thing. It keeps wanting to zoom in on the below area here. Hoping it'll get you right there. You see that 925? It's not. Sometimes it's on the ring itself, and in this case, it's right there. Now I'm gonna move because of my nasty thumbnails there that need a trimmings. But what you're looking at here is a light blue aquamarine with 3 diamonds, small diamonds, actually 4. There's one up here. Yeah, there's more than that, in fact. These have been tested with a tester. They're diamonds, it's aquamarine, and it's a sterling silver. And you can see right here as well, it says 925. Beautiful piece. That's a piece you could find just hanging out with costume jewelry, and people would not necessarily know. This is a beautiful piece right here, and it is gold filled. That means it has a thin layer of gold outside of it. This is what they call a sweetheart bracelet. This is the type of thing that back in the day you could order out of the Sears and Roebuck catalog. You could buy stuff as tiny as a thimble all the way up to a fully formed, built home for yourself. It says Victoria, made in the USA in the back here, but you've got some glass rhinestones and a small cameo in here. It's a gorgeous piece. That's a really nice piece, and you know, you don't come across those all that often. Again, I try to put stuff of similar sort of types in here. Here is a gold-filled cameo. You got the carved cameo, carved out of shell. You can see there it's made to hang on like a necklace, or it could be a brooch or a pin right here. And then just below here, in this spot, is where it says 1/20, 12K GF. It stands for gold filled. So any GF or 1/20th, 1/10th, that's indicating that there's a percentage of gold in that. Now, I'm going to show you a handful of pieces that aren't technically fine jewelry, but I threw them in here because they fit the same style and motif as the rest of the components, the pieces in here. I thought this was really cool. This is a vintage, it's a push pin, folks. It's just a push pin, but I just love the style of it. It's like a girl. It's got that crescent moon, which was also very popular around the turn of the century. Here is a very Art Nouveau designed piece with the little picture, an old photo of a little girl in there from yesteryear. You can see this right here. You would pry this part back, pull the photo out, push it back in, but it's made to be a brooch as well. Here is a pendant that you could hang. And again, it's like an Art Nouveau motif, a woman lounging there on what was made to look like a crescent moon. And then here's a cool style. This is a little bit more, you know, Victorian sort of looking. You've got like an enamel paint of flowers here. It's a very ornate filigree design. You flip it over and again, you're looking at a little bit of an earlier form of a safety clasp there on this one. But this is not made of silver. It's just made in that color. But moving on, let's look at a couple more pieces that do have some silver content in them. Again, I'm just doggone these necklaces pulling out. Here we go. So this is a very large brooch. It almost looks like a belt buckle, just based on the size of it. But it's very, very ornate, very stylized design. You've got the old clasp, the old type of a hook pin there for this to go up and underneath. It's in there. But then you can see on the back here, let me point to it, underneath of the pin, sterling front. And I've never seen one that said front before. Sterling front. That must mean that there's a piece that has been, that this entire thing is maybe not likely completely silver, like the pin itself may not be silver. But it's a beautiful piece, definitely an older piece. Here was the necklace that was getting hung up on that. It's also a beautiful kind of Art Nouveau type piece. Again, I had a lot of these in here on purpose. They kind of fit the same style. You got another silver necklace here. If we look here at this clasp, actually maybe the chain is not sterling. Nope, it's not. I guess I just had it in here because it fit the same style. But if you were to inspect it and look at the back, you would want to look and see if you find any indication of 925, 925. I don't see any 925 here, folks, so I guess that's not silver. Well, that's good. It's good to pull this out and note amongst other pieces that are. Here's a beautiful little bracelet. It's kind of like it's a sort of a mesh type of a wire. Set up, you've got these convex stones that are garnet, which is a gemstone. And then if we inspect the clasp, we flip it over, we will discover that right here, let's get it to zoom in here for me, it has the name of whoever the brand is, and then it says 925 underneath of it. Definitely got some condition. We need to get, you could polish that up if you wanted to, because it's starting to tarnish a little bit. Some people like that, some people don't. I often do not clean pieces because I would rather a person who wants that to be done to do it themselves rather than get upset that I tried to mess with something. Here's a couple more gold-filled pieces. We have now a stick pin right here, as you can see. Beautiful etched design. And you can tell based on doing scratch tests whether or not this just has a thin layer or a full solid gold. This right here is a locket. It's made to be on a chain to wear around your neck, and not unlike the top of a case for a pocket watch, there's a little spot here where you should be able to put your nail or something and pry this thing open so that you can see the inside of it like this. And if I open it up, isn't that sweet? We got a little old photograph, small black and white photograph of a woman. And this was either, you know, hers, or maybe there was a picture of another person here. Maybe a man carried this around and this was his sweetheart. Who knows? If it's ever got gold or silver on the inside of it, oftentimes around the edge here, it will be indicated. Okay? It's a cool little piece, etched as well. For time's sake today, I'm going to kind of blow through some of these because I want to get to the nicer stuff. That's stuff that's made out of actually gold. Here's a really beautiful pair of, or this is one of a pair of sterling silver earrings that feature seed pearls and a very large pearl there. Beautiful design. I just think it's fantastic. In this case, the silver content is not indicated on the piece itself. Well, actually it is on one of the hangy pieces right there, right here. You can see it's a very tiny stamp. You wouldn't even know it was there if you didn't look really close. And then here's a couple of earrings as well that look like they could just be costume jewelry, but actually this is featuring a garnet again. This is now a facet cut garnet. And then on the back, it indicates that there's silver on a stamp on the back, which you would not know if you didn't take these and look very, very closely on the back. So if you're learning anything so far, it's that you can look attractive on the front, but you really learn what's going on with stuff when you turn it over and you start to look and inspect the back. Hinges, clasps, and areas where pieces are soldered on.
Rusty's Hot Tips.
Real fast, folks, if you didn't know it, we have other channels that you should check out when you get a chance. Postcard Planet, What Sold, where we talk about the things we sold here at the warehouse, and we share information about the money part, what we paid, what we earned, where we got it, and some information. My brother's over here. He checks it. He does that one. He does a great job. And then also we have a podcast. It's brand new. We've got a few episodes out already. It's called the What Sold Podcast. You can get it on Apple. You can get it on whatever streaming service you prefer. And if you want to watch us doing that podcast, you can go to the What Sold Podcast YouTube channel. We've got others as well. High Spirits, Sound Machine. All the links for these are in the description of this video. Have fun. And if you haven't done it, please check out our jewelry playlist on this channel. Yep, we got lots. Now we're going to get into some of the nicer pieces here that we're going to discuss. I'm going to talk about how to find the marks and to determine what the purity is. And then I'll also get into showing you how to do scratch tests. All right. So I have a few of these in here. Here are just some more pocket watch chains. I'm going to show you, I've shown these before. I'm going to show you more later in this video when we talk about the pocket watches themselves. But pocket watch chains can be made out of sterling silver or gold filled or gold. In this case, this particular one is made out of sterling silver. And you can see on the bar here, right there, that stamp says 925. That's tiny, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Some of you are saying I wouldn't have even known to look there. But these, a lot of the old vintage or antique pieces will be made out of silver or gold filled because it was very, very common. Same thing here. We've got like the bar portion of this. We don't see anything, but we come down to the ring. And the ring is going to give us some information. And it's going to show us, it says 925 and it also says 750. So the question, what I don't know is 750 is actually the European hallmark for 18 karat gold. Okay, so I'm not sure what part is supposed to be sterling and if any part actually is supposed to be made out of gold. I don't know. I know it's at least sterling silver, but that definitely warrants a little bit more investigation. These pieces here are more gold filled. And up here at the clasp, you'll see I'm not sure if it's saying it on that one. That one it doesn't say. Sometimes they don't say, and sometimes they do. This one I'm pretty sure does. Yeah, it's going to give you the brand. The brand is Simmons, as you can see. And on the side, it says 1/10 12 kgf. So 1/10 of it is 12 karat gold filling on the outside. Okay, so these are pocket watch chains. They're small, they're easy to store, they have big value. People buy them, they use them, they put them with their old pocket watches. This was a lovely piece that came in recently, a piece of carved jade, a pendant. It's quite cold to the touch. It's a beautiful piece. It's hand knotted between the beads, and in the back it has a gold colored chain or clasp. Now, does that mean that it is gold? Absolutely not. They can make all kinds of things look brilliant gold color that have no gold at all. So what we'll do is we'll look around. I don't see anything on the outside of it, but if I press in here like this and then pull out, is there anything on that? No. What about if I flip her over? Oh, well, hello. Right there. It's upside down, but it says 14K, and it has some initials or branding. But this is 14 karat solid gold clasp, and typically speaking, not always, but typically if you find a vintage piece and it has gold, solid gold on it, then whatever other material is on there too is likely to be of pretty high quality. And so that I would expect that this is a decent quality piece of jade. It's very heavy. It's a brilliant green color, and it features a couple of dragons and sort of like, you know, the reverse or like kind of an opposite of one another. Really cool piece. Next, we can talk about vintage stick pins. I've got 3 examples here. The 2 on the left are 10 karat gold, and this one is 14 karat gold. This one here features a lab-created ruby, and it has a nice little etched design. That's beautiful. Turned over, and you can see right here on the back of the pin, right there. Will it show it? Yeah, you can see the faintness of it. 10K. 10K, and it has some initials. Now, you need the scratch test to verify, but that looks like the real deal. That's the real article. Solid gold in that piece. Then if we come back over here, this piece as well is also 10 karat gold. However, there is no mark on this one indicating the actual purity of the metal, but it also features a decent size. I'm going to call it a 0.25 quarter carat diamond. It's got a really good color as well. You can see that this pin has been beat up a little bit. Boy, it's real wobbly. It's kind of been stuck in and bent back multiple times. Beautiful pieces, and then of course this one takes the cake. It's a higher amount of gold, but it also features, let's see here, it features, let me get it here so there's a good backdrop for me to zoom. A nice sized diamond in the center, 3 above and 1 below. So we're featuring 5 diamonds and 2 trillion cut blue sapphires above and below it. Very Art Deco, gorgeous piece. It is not marked as the carat purity of the gold that was found by doing a scratch test. But these stick pins can sometimes be found for very cheap. You can find them in lots, even online. And sometimes people don't know they're made of gold, especially in this case if it's not marked on it and it requires further testing. When it comes to watches, there are a lot of good values in old watches, whether they have metal bands or leather bands, whether they take batteries, whether they are automatics like this one is. You see this little crank on the side. If you crank it backwards, it will wind it up. Now watch in the center bottom, the second hand. See it moving? It's almost to the bottom. That's counting the seconds now, folks. This is operating. This is an older watch, probably from the 1930s, 1940s, possibly 1950s. I haven't looked up the exact age of it, but if you flip it over, and this is where you often want to look to begin with to get some information, is this back plate. Does it say anything? Well, it almost appears like it doesn't at all. But if you rotate it up, now do you see the very top here? It says, and I'm not talking about the band, but the top of the edge of this metal here, if I can get it in position with the light, there you see it says 14K gold filled. So this has 14 karat purity of gold filling on the outside of the top here. And what's more is sometimes you can get even more information if you open the back up. Sometimes they're hinged, sometimes they pop off. In this case, do you see this little bump, this little lip right there? That's made so that you can use something to pry. Sometimes it's easy, you can do it with your thumbnail, sometimes you break your thumbnail. I don't want to break mine, so I'll try. If it's too hard, oh, there I got it. Okay, so look, I popped that out. Don't be afraid. You're not going to damage anything. Here's the movement. It's a small movement. You just want to take it out like that. That's the movement. And then look, oh, there's more information on the back here. It says, timed by Elgin National, 14K gold-filled Ross. So this piece, it's got gold filling in it, folks. People will buy that just for the gold filling, but it also allows you, as you can see here, this movement, which is working because I cranked it. It is an Elgin 670 model. So if you were to go into eBay, you would look up Elgin 670 wristwatch, and you'd find one like this. You can even look up the serial number, R354225, and note, it's a 21 jewel movement, which means it's got a lot of jewels. This is a higher end wristwatch for the time. It's got a lot of jewels on a lot of pivot points, and that's very, very good. That's how you check. Sometimes you'll find these things are solid gold or maybe even made out of platinum. We're going to end this segment here of the video before we get into watches and things like that with these pieces of jewelry. Now I'm going to kind of show you, try to get up close and see if I can zoom in. Right here what you're looking at is a little ring, and I do mean little because it's a size 5, which is pretty small. You may or may not be able to tell, but there's some different colors from this side, which is more of a copper color, and then more of a yellow color on the outside. On the inside, if you look inside the band, which is where you should look, if you've got a ring, you're going to discover some information. In this case, it says Black Hills Gold, 10K and 12K. Now, Black Hills Gold is a type of gold that incorporates different colors of gold, meaning different gold mixed with different other elements in order to provide or present a certain color. So it has 12 karat gold, most likely in the yellow, perhaps. I actually don't know which is which. And one of them will be 10, one of them will be 12. One has more copper content in it than the other. That's why it presents more like a copper color. But Black Hills Gold as a style, as a type, is quite collectible, quite valuable. So what you have here is 10. In fact, this whole row, these two items are 10 karat gold. These two items were stepping up here. Actually, let me show you this 10 karat brooch. It's a beautiful brooch. It incorporates a genuine amethyst, a lighter colored facet cut amethyst with sort of this almost like a knot pattern. Again, you see that pin, how it's extending out far end. That means this is an older piece. It's a vintage piece. And on the top here where my thumb is and on the bottom, you'll see some imprinting. And you'll notice you've got some imprinting here. You've got numbers, okay, which indicate manufacturer, and then you've got other ones up here at the top. We'll see if we can zoom in and get a good idea of what this says here. Right, so it says 9, and then it says 375, and then it has some other marks. But 375, folks, is an indication of a lower carat of gold. And that's a European hallmark. So in the US, it's 10, 12, 14, 18. And in the UK, it's 375, 585, and 750. 750 being 18 karat. So it's a very beautiful old piece. Clearly, it was manufactured in Europe. The next set here is going to be 14 karat gold pieces of jewelry. This is what would be considered a Georgian style ring. It has two, probably I would say 0.2 carat diamonds in the center with 4 pearls around that. And then you've got this gorgeous black enamel, which really contrasts well with that bright yellow gold that's been like painted on after the fact, after this was made. And again, if we rotate around, we look underneath, and then we look around on the band, boom, there you see it, 14K. That's how you know this is 14 karat gold. But of course, you would want to get verification on that either through a scratch test or having it looked at by a jeweler, because definitely people can put marks on jewelry to pass it off as something that it isn't. Here is another little pin, little brooch, incorporating again an amethyst. And it's a very beautiful filigree design. Gorgeous little design there. You can see there's not much underneath on the back or on the pin itself. But if you rotate around and you start to look, you'll see, if I'm going to lay it down, I'm going to see if I can zoom in real close on it here. Right, let me get my instrument here so I can show you. Right here on the tip there, and you can't hardly even see it even with the camera on it, but it indicates that it's 14K gold. This is also a piece manufactured in Europe someplace, but it's a beautiful piece. It's very dainty and lightweight, so it's not great for like gold weight content, but just as a style piece, it's very beautiful. Here is a ring, and this, now we're looking at 18 karat gold. 18 karat gold. And this was hard to identify. I could tell it had some weight to it. It looked old to me, but if we look around, we're going to see that there is no mark. Unfortunately, no mark. So some people might think, oh, well, it just looks like gold. Maybe it's just a costume piece. But you would be wrong, because this piece is so old, folks, that they didn't have the purity standards that required marking the gold purity on it. So just because you find a piece and your gut tells you it's valuable, but it doesn't have a mark, please go get it tested. Just because it doesn't have a mark doesn't mean it's not made of gold or silver or precious metal. It just may mean that it's so old that those purity standards were not requiring manufacturers of fine jewelry to put the purity of the metal on it. And this is a prime example, as is the last piece. And boy, oh boy, folks, I'm so proud of this piece. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's 18 karat gold. It has what they would call a halo of seed pearls around the central stone. You can see right here where these two prongs are sticking out, it is actually missing 2 pearls. And so I got to find 2 pearls the same millimeter size, the same luster, and get them on there to fix it. But if you turn it over on the back, you're going to see beautiful gold here and just kind of the construction of it. But there is no indication, no marking of brand or the gold content on it. But we've had it tested. It tested at 18 karat gold, and the big question I had was, what is this stone? Because this is clearly a piece from the 1800s. I do not have absolute confirmation on it yet, but I'm told that they believe it is a sapphire. And I have a presidium tester here. I need to probably just jump in and pull that puppy out. In fact, I might do that, pull it out and test it. If I was thinking it was either a sapphire or maybe a tanzanite. But either way, this stone is somewhere in the, goodness, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 karat oval stone here. Just gorgeous. But you need to test these things with scratch testing or taking it to a jeweler to verify. Now, that's hard to do. You can't do that in the field. You can't do that when just looking at something. But I'm going to show you right now. We're going to move this stuff over. I'm going to take some of these pieces, and I'm going to give you an example of both how to do a scratch test and also what it looks like. Okay, folks, what you've got here is a scratch plate and some testing chemicals to test for gold. 10 karat, 14 karat, 18 karat. I've also got 22 karat, but I'm not going to need it. But what you have here is an example. I just want to show you how this works for those of you who don't know or would be interested. You can buy these kits on Amazon. You can buy them at jewelry suppliers. You can buy them on eBay. There's lots of places you can get them, okay? Now, instead of testing something that I have no idea where it's going to come out, I've put these together to show you. Now, I already know that this little bar here that comes off of a chain for a pocket watch is not made of gold. I know from this, the inside mark of this ring, this is a 10 to 12 karat. This is 14 karat, and that is 18 karat. I'm going to apply these acids on here and show you. So the way that it works is, if it's not gold, the acid, a 10 karat acid even, should eat it immediately. And it should just, these little marks should disappear. I've got 2 marks per thing. 2 here, 2 there, 2, 2, okay? And you can see the piece of jewelry which is displayed next to that line. If it is 10 karat gold, then when I drip 10 karat on it, it should just stay. But when I drip 14 karat on it, it should eat it, because it is a higher potency acid than the 10 karat. Now, if you drip something on and it holds with 10, it's at least 10 karat. If you put it on 14 and it eats it, then it's 10 karat. If you put it on 14 and it doesn't eat it, then it's got to be at least 14. You go up to 18 at that point. If the 18 eats it, it's 14 karat. If at 18 it stays, shoot, you got to move up to 22. Now we're talking some serious gold, amount. So, let me unscrew these caps and get into it and show you. We're going to do the first mark on one side and see if it eats it or if it doesn't, and then we'll move to the next. All right, folks, here we are. We're going to go in with our 10 karat. Let's see if you can see it. Is it going to zoom for you? 10 karat, there we go, okay? And we're going to go down here, and we're going to drip on this line, and we're going to see what happens. Drip right there. Drip right here. Here and here. A little bubble there. There we go. So this right here is not marked. At the most, I believe it has some gold filling on it, but I don't believe that it's solid gold. But you can see this has also got a bubble. Let me pop that bubble. There we go. You can see that the other 3 are holding pretty easily. So we know that these 3 are all at least 10 karat gold. This right here is holding a little bit, but just barely. Just barely. Okay? So now that we've done the 10 and we wait a minute and we see that nothing has eaten at it, we're going to move up to the 14. Now what I like to do is drip the 14 onto the same one that I put the 10 on. Because it's okay that there's 10 karat acid in there. This should eat through it if it's less than 10 karat. Okay, so this is faded pretty heavily. I'm going to drip this on, and you can see that very quickly there's a little bit of smoke there. It ate it away. Let's drip this on here and see what happens. Well, it turns an interesting color. I'll tell you that. Do you see how it fades immediately? And it just turns into, it essentially just turns into like a reddish coppery color. You notice that? So what has happened is it has eaten all of the gold content, and the other alloying metal that's left is what's left. So it looks to me like copper is heavily what's left. So we know that it's still holding some of the metal, and that means this is at least 10 karat, which we know that it is. This, however, is not made of gold. It ate it immediately. It barely held it, which means it probably has a very, very tiny amount of gold plating or gold filling on it. But that's about it. All right, let's move over now to this side over here. And I'm going to drip the 14. We know that this ring is 14. Okay, so I'm going to drip it. It shouldn't eat it if it's 14. Okay, it doesn't. And we know that this is 18. So I'm going to drip this on here a little bit more. Getting a little bit of smoke, but everything's holding still. Okay, so we know that these top two, at least, are 14. Well, I didn't do it on here, but you'll see. Putting 14 on a 10, it's gonna eat right at it. Do you see that? Eats all the gold away. Okay, so these are at least 14. Now we pull out the big guns. We're gonna pull out the 18 karat now, and we're gonna see what that looks like. Let me try to reduce the glare here. If I drop 18 on that, it really starts to eat at it. And the same up here. If I do this, it shouldn't actually. This one should hold because it's 18. But you're going to start seeing this slowly fading. After a couple of minutes, you'll see that up top here, you'll see if I move the camera down, you'll see that that is just as bright and shiny and clear as it was when I put the 18 on it. But this down here is fading considerably, and you can even see it's getting grainy. Let me zoom in here. Come on. Come on now. Goodness me. It's getting kind of grainy in there. I don't know if you can tell that. Right there. You see that? But this, super bright. This is 18. This is 14. This right here, when I started to wipe off, you know, it's very easy to wipe off now. That was 10, and that was nothing. But that's how you do it, folks. You scratch it. You start with the lower amount of gold acid, and then you work your way up. If it eats it, then you know it's at that purity or less. If it doesn't, you keep moving up until you find out what it is. Let's talk for a moment about pocket watches. Now, what I'm going to say about pocket watches, most of which would apply to wristwatches as well, but because I got a variety of these that have come in the last week, I saved them for this video so that we could examine these and talk about the different features to look at when you have a pocket watch in front of you. You can see that I've got several different styles and types here, as well as pocket watch fobs and chains. We'll talk about all of these together right now. Pocket watches come in different sizes, as you can see. These larger sizes would be considered a size 18, an 18S, this one and this one. But then there's some that are slightly smaller. This and this would be considered a size 16. And you can get down to smaller sizes like size 8s. That's just generally the diameter size of these. Now, some of these have cases which cover the face and some that do not. You can see that these do not cover the face. I'm going to move these back for a moment and show you these two. As you can see, this is an Elgin brand. When inspecting it, you want to look at the hands. That's these parts. You want to look at the face. That's the background here. And you want to inspect for any sort of condition issues. So this Elgin right here, it's an open face on the front. On the back, you can see we have a gold color, kind of shiny, and there's definitely an etched floral motif here. Turn it back over. The hands seem to be in good condition. They're straight. They're not falling off inside or missing. And the color of the white face is pretty nice. You can see we're using Roman numerals here, not standard numbers. And then you've got this portion at the bottom, which counts the seconds. Okay. Now, the only downside here, even though the color's good, is you see this little spot right here? There's clearly a little nick, a little part that was chipped off or scratched. I haven't taken the crystal off of this, but this may be an enamel face. And if so, then some of that has just sort of chipped off. It was dropped at one point. Maybe the crystal broke and it damaged the face, and then it has since been replaced. I'm not sure. Oh, and then look at this. See this little spot right here in the light? Can you see right here where my thumbnail's at? There is a little bit of a crack there in the crystal. So my guess is this dropped at one point, and either the whole thing shattered or this portion used to be down here, and it damaged both the crystal and this portion when it was dropped. So we have some condition issues. It's not the end of the world. It's small. It's not terribly noticeable. Overall, it's an attractive looking watch still. This one here, you're probably seeing what I'm seeing. We have regular numbers. I like the color of the red dots around that, but we have some significant cracking in the face and some crumbling as well here where my thumb is. The hands are still intact. That's good news. The crystal is intact. That's good news. No cracks on the crystal. On the back, the downside here is that this is a gold-filled watch case, and it is so heavily used that the gold filling on the outside of it has started to wear off to where you're just looking really at like the brass or whatever that alloy base metal is underneath of it. I've moved these around. I'm going to show you this one next because it's also open-faced, and then we'll move to the ones with cases over everything. This is an Illinois brand. I've got several different brands represented here. I think this is an attractive look. I like how it's made to catch the light in such a way. The crystal's nice. There's some discoloration on the face, unfortunately. The hands are intact. And on the back, you've got sort of this little etched design in this little rectangle. And this often, when they have little spaces like this, they were made like this in order for once a person purchased it, let's say they were either getting it for themselves or as a gift, they would have their initials or their name oftentimes engraved in that spot. So if you come across these from time to time, if not on the front or the back, if you open up, sometimes they'll even have the name engraved on the inside of the case. This is a beautiful little watch. It has a little chain, and you can see these others have chains as well. We'll talk about chains in a moment. Chains by themselves have value. You can buy chains without the pocket watch. People will buy them without the pocket watch, and sometimes they're made out of fine materials like silver and gold. Number one, when you're looking at a pocket watch that has a case over both sides, there's a couple different ways that these open. Sometimes they have a little lip like this that you could put a nail underneath to pop open. Other times they do not. But the ones who don't, usually if you press on the top down, this one doesn't have it because it's got the lip. But if you have one that doesn't have a lip and you press down, it will pop that up. It is a spring action. As you can see right here, there's a little metal piece right here that grabs onto the edge of the case, clips it in, and when you push this down, it lowers this piece of metal, thereby letting the spring at the bottom here open the top up. Right here we have what's called the U.S. Watch Company, Waltham, and I can't remember which one was a subsidiary. I'm assuming Waltham was the overall company. Maybe they purchased this other company at some point. We're operating off of Roman numerals again. We've got this sort of blued color of these hands, which is indicative of certain ages. So keep a lookout for that. We do have the little hand in there as well, but we have, again, some breakage in the center of this enamel face and some scoring and some cracking around. So that's a little bit unfortunate. On the inside here, you can see a number for the case, but that's all the information you got there. So you can either pop it with your nail or you can push down. That opens it back, but that only opens one side. And it's really difficult to get information on this and its age or the type of movement or even what the material the case is made out of just from this side. We really need to flip it over onto the back side. And let's look at this one. It's very beautifully etched as well. Definitely a gold color. Very pretty. It has another pretty chain as well. Nice gold color. We don't know what it's made out of yet, but we're going to do some investigation. So let's figure out the front side again. That's the front side. So on the back side, this one happens to have a little lip there, so I can put my thumbnail. Now, I hope I don't break my thumbnail while showing you this stuff today, because it has happened before, folks. Sometimes these open up like this, where they hinge. Other times, they're screw-on, so you have to unscrew them. I'll show you an example of that in a moment. This is the type that has actually a double cover. So it has the cover on the outside. That's the portion that's etched, but you have an additional piece here that covers the movement. And so now I've opened this up. it says again, United States Watch Company, Waltham, Massachusetts. And then here, right here on the movement, you have got a number, 134309. And that is the number you would use, which I will demonstrate in a few minutes, to look up the serial number of this particular movement. But let's draw our attention now to the case. I see right there a number again, but I have no other information. But if I open up and I look on the inside here, I see the kind of the image of a figure standing there. It says warranted at the top, and it says 20 years. So now's a good time to talk about the sort of the lingo of things that are written on pocket watch cases so you can determine what they're made out of. Now, I have opened up the backs of several of these so that we can do a compare and contrast. That's fun, right? Kind of like I said a minute ago about how, this is a smaller size, a size 8. You pop it open in the back, and there you go. Look at this. There's an etched name like we talked about. This one belonged to old Cora, okay? This was Cora's. If you look on the inside here, you're going to see just a number again. Sometimes you get just numbers. Sometimes you get words. Let me pull this part up. We'll look at this. And this says, guaranteed 20 years. It's a Philadelphia case company, watch case company, 20 years. That says guaranteed. This one just has the little, almost looks like scales in a number. And then if I pop this portion up and we look at it, and I zoom in, it says guaranteed J-Boss 14K, 20 years. So we're getting some inconsistencies. In some cases, we're just getting numbers. In some cases, we're getting numbers that say guaranteed or warranted. Sometimes they say the metal purity, 10K, 12K, 14K, 18K. Sometimes they do not. This one just says guaranteed. It says 20 years, but it doesn't say what the amount of gold potentially it has. And then finally on this one, it just says Waltham in a number. And then underneath here, it just has a number again. So, Rusty, what in the world am I supposed to do? Isn't this cool? It's working. This is like a 120, 130-year-old, maybe more, pocket watch. And it's wound. It just needed to be moved a little bit. You see right down here by my thumb, this number? That's the serial number. It says 17 jewels. So we're going to talk about that in a moment, but we're going to talk about the cases first still. Okay, this is what you need to know. If a pocket watch case says 10K or 14K, it does not have scales, and it doesn't say things like warranted or guaranteed, then there's a good chance, folks, that case is made out of solid gold. If it says 10K, it's likely made out of 10-carat solid gold, or 14K or 18K. However, if it says a year number, like 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, 25 years, or if it says the words warranted or guaranteed, what that's telling you is that there is a gold filling on the outside of an otherwise, not precious metal alloy base. So you got some sort of a base to keep it for strength, and then on the outside you got gold. In this case, you've got enough gold that you should be able to wear this and put it in and out of your pocket for 20 years before that starts to wear off on the back like you're seeing here. This watch right here, see how shiny that is? That's what this one used to look like before 20 years or 25 years or however much gold filling is on the outside of it. So if it says guaranteed or warranted, you're looking at a gold-filled pocket watch. It has gold content on it, but it's not solid gold. But if it says 14K or 10K, it could be solid gold. It likely is. Now here's the conundrum. What happens if it doesn't say years, it doesn't say a purity of metal, and it doesn't say guaranteed or warranted? What do I do then, Rusty? Well, at that point, folks, I would say you need to go to a jeweler or if you're potentially open to selling it, perhaps a nice high-end pawn shop or something. A place where someone who has a jewelry degree or is a gemologist or someone who has worked with fine pieces like this, a watchmaker, a watch repair shop, take it into one of those places and have them put in a machine to tell you what the gold content is. Just today, I did this. Before I tell you the story, I want to tell you that these 5 of these 7 watches I purchased, all 7 of them were purchased this week, but 5 of them were bought by one person. So this watch right here, okay, and this watch right here, I bought separately from someone else. But these 5 watches I bought on Facebook Marketplace this week. And I did something I almost never do. Not only did I buy it on Facebook Marketplace, but I bought them sight unseen. I mean, I saw pictures, but I didn't go and put my eyeballs on it in person. And I also had them ship it to me. Oh my goodness, I'm just compounding risk on top of risk. Okay, it's a beautiful case, is it not? So as the story goes, I found this lady. She was selling 5 pocket watches. She wanted $470 for all 5 of these. They also all came with chains, as you can see. And I thought to myself, well, I've done this enough to know that sometimes I buy these and it turns out that the case is solid gold or one of the chains might be solid gold. But you know what? Worst case scenario, Rusty, if you get this, none of the movements work. I can tell just by looking at it that some of them are at least gold filled. If they all end up being not working movements, but I have 5 watches and 5 chains, I could sell each watch for about $100, get my money back. I could still make money by selling the chains on a low end, $20 to $30 a piece for vintage, gold-filled, or, attractive looking pocket watch chains. And so that's what I did, folks. I bought it. I took a risk. Okay, that's what I did. I took a little risk. And you know what happened? I could determine that these 4 pocket watches were gold filled. 20, 25 years of gold filling, which is a good amount on the outside. 3 of the 5 of these pocket watch movements work. How good of time do they keep? I'm not exactly sure yet. I haven't timed them out, but I'll check into it. I got these also locally recently, and this one is 10 karat gold filled, and this one is also gold filled. This is white gold, and this is yellow gold. I got this chain just before I started buying these pocket watches at a pawn shop, and they wanted $75 for it. It said gold filled, right? But it doesn't say what it's filled with, okay? Or what type of gold filling. But you know what? Old Rusty came back and I scratch tested this, and it turned out to be solid 10 karat gold. And actually, this morning, this chain that I paid $75 for sold for $1,010 because of the weight of it and it's solid gold. Now, bringing you back to the end of my story, I could tell these were gold filled. I didn't need any assessment on these, but this one was the curious one. It is etched on both sides like this and over here. Beautiful. Like this wreath type design with like a home on the lake with a mountain in the background. Gorgeous. It's even etched along the edge here. This is what they would call a double hunter pocket watch case, because it is a hunter case in the way that it is designed and etched, and it is on both sides. It's double. Now, as I showed you before, we're going to get to that in a second. As I showed you before, the inside of this case only has numbers, but it's fairly thin. This outer case is fairly thin. It's thinner than the others, and I know from experience that solid gold pocket watch cases oftentimes have fairly thin outer casings because, again, it's solid gold. They're not going to make it super thick. It'd be too expensive for people to buy. And it's really just for decoration, right? So I took this in, and guess what I discovered? Both the watch itself, case, and this very thick, heavy pocket watch chain are solid 10 karat gold. Now, I haven't weighed this yet. I'll do it in a moment, so you'll see it. We're going to weigh it and see how much it weighs, see how much the chain weighs, all right? And then usually, not always, but you're looking somewhere in the 30 to 38%, something like that. It can be different, but I'm just saying as a general idea, 30 to 35, 38% of the weight of this whole thing will be the case. You know, the majority, 60%, 70% of the weight will be the movement because it's metal. It's not made out of gold. It's just steel and stuff in there. So we'll weigh that, we'll weigh this, and then we'll figure out what today's spot price on 10 karat solid gold is, and we'll multiply them, and then you'll see how it can certainly pay to take risks sometimes on something, because if it turns out to be solid gold, you could be making a really huge return. All right, here we got our little our scale here. It's in grams. I'm going to put the chain on here first. Okay, we're looking at 40.11 grams on the chain. All right, now we're going to do the pocket watch. Oh my, it's too heavy. It's too heavy for this scale. I got to get a larger scale. Okay, got a big boy out here. Let's see here what we got with this. Okay, so we're looking at 132 grams total. Now, if we're assuming without taking the movement out and just weighing the case, I may do that in a little bit. But here, if we're just assuming that the case represents about 30% of that amount, then we're looking at 39.6 grams for the case. Now, if you add up the chain, and then 30% of 132 is 39.6. This is how many grams of solid 10 karat gold has come out of this. Now we need to see what 10 karat gold per gram value is today. Now a quick check online showed me that 10 karat gold per gram is selling for $27.22 per gram today. Which means if you multiply this times each gram of gold, this is what we're looking at as the value in just the gold spot price of this case and this chain, assuming that the case is only worth 30% of the weight. But if I take out the movement, we might find that it weighs even more than that. And I will likely do that before I put it up for sale. But the point of this, folks, is to say, when you're inspecting or looking at a pocket watch, you need to know how to open it on the top, on the back. You need to know how to see whether or not it has many jewels. You need to know how to search for the serial number, and you need to know how to inspect the case to determine if it's made out of a precious metal. Because if you have something handed down that's just in a box somewhere in your house, and it's made out of 10, 12, or 14, 18 karat solid gold, you could have a $2,000, $4,000, or who knows what value in something that's just sitting around doing nothing. Now, if you have sentimental attachment to stuff, I totally understand it. But this is for those who are interested in inspecting things while they're out in the wild, or just knowing what you've got. Let's talk for a moment about the information you're going to see when you take the backs off. Most of these backs unscrew. I unscrewed this one and it says 10 karat gold filled, so it's a white gold 10 karat filling on the outside. If I unscrew this one here, same thing. Here we go. The winner, guaranteed 20 years. So it's gold filled because it says guaranteed and it has age 20 years. Okay, so in both of these cases, there are different types of movements. As you can see, they look different. This one, we're going to see, it says Elgin National Watch Co. It says it has a safety pinion, and it has a number. It also says USA. So this one does not indicate number of jewels. This one here says Illinois Springfield Watch Co. Down here it says 17 jewels, and up here it has a number. Okay, first off, the name is pretty obvious. That's the name of the manufacturer or the brand of these pocket watches. This is an Elgin, as also indicated by the name on the front. This is an Illinois, and you can see it there. Secondarily, these things have jewels in them. Pocket watches and also wristwatches, depending on the kind, will have jewels. Well, first off, you're like, what does the number mean and why do they have jewels in the first place? Great questions. I'm not an authority on the matter. However, I'll tell you that these types of timepieces can range from a very small number of jewels, like 7, all the way up to 21 or 29 jewels. A pocket watch that has at least 17 jewels is considered in the industry to be quote unquote fully jeweled. That just means it's bringing its A game. You know, I try to be fully jeweled while I'm rocking around as much as possible as well. But that's a different story. 17 jewels here, folks. Means that this is a pretty high quality timepiece. But why are there jewels in these in the first place? It's a watch, Rusty. Well, jewels are placed at the pivot points of all of these various components, these cogs, these wheels, and the purpose of them pivoting on those is for it to be a smooth surface so that it can rotate and it reduces or minimizes friction. Friction can cause all kinds of problems, most notably mechanical errors in the time. These things wind up. They wind a piece of wire in here, or a spring rather, where when it tightens it up as it's trying to unspool, it causes each of these wheels to move on different size teeth and this and that. It moves the hands, and it ends up keeping certain time at certain intervals the way that it's made. You want it to do that as well as possible. So it's good to have a high number of jewels. Okay, so why don't we take one of these serial numbers like this, Elgin. Here's the number 9934797, and let me show you on Google. I'll look up a website where you can look up serial numbers and we'll identify this movement. So here we are on the old interwebs, and I've gotten into Google, and here we are, the pocketwatchdatabase.com is right there. So you get in here, and what's cool is you can look up the serial number, and then you can look up who the maker or the manufacturer is. It's super easy. So let's start with the serial number. We're at 9934797, and then this particular watch is made by Elgin. Okay, that's that simple. So if you look, you hit the search button there, and voila, folks, boom. They know what this is. It's a grade 211. So the information you're going to want to have the most if you're going to say sell something like this is to know the grade, the model, and the size and the number of jewels. So this one that didn't mention the number of jewels has actually got 7 jewels in it. So it's a lower jewel grade movement. It's a size 16, as I'd mentioned earlier. That's just the size of the movement. Okay. There were a total number of about 133,000 of these manufactured, but the estimated time period is 1903. So that's good. We got a 1903 timepiece here. It's a Model 7. And so if I were to look this up, I'd probably put things like Elgin Pocket Watch, 1903 16S. And then I might even either put 7J or I might put 211. Okay, is the grade. Now, what's cool also, and this is not true of all pocket watches that you look up on here, but sometimes they have a thing that says, find similar watches for sale. And you can come down here and see what people are looking for price-wise on these. And it can vary, but it at least gets you going. So if I wanted on eBay, here's a model 16S 7 jewel 1904. This says 1903. Close. But let's just pick one. Here's one with a nice little case that has a case instead of it being open. But let's take a look and see what she says here. This person is asking $150 for this. And as you can see, 3 people are watching it, which means it's got a pretty high likelihood of selling at interest. Now, I will note that you can see this is being sold with a large chain as well. And so that chain is worth $50 or more by itself. But let's go back to the last page. And let's come up and see what this one says. Still coming to eBay. All right, so looking at $80. You know, I would expect then between the two of those, this one, mine is in better condition face-wise than this. It says it seems to be working. I don't quite know. You can see some cracks and stuff on the face. Look how terribly worn the back of that is. You can see this right here is the gold filling that's left, and all around the edge is where it's been worn off. That's the difference in color, folks, of something that has a gold filling. If this were solid gold, you could wear it and you would never see, because it would be the same consistency of metal solidly all the way through, right? So I would say reasonably, I could expect to probably sell my pocket watch for between $100 and $120 based on this comparison. But this is where you go to, folks. You go to the pocket watch database, you put that info in, and good luck. You know what, cousins? That was fun, wasn't it? There's all kinds of good treasures out there just waiting to be found, waiting to be discovered, and sometimes they're right under your nose and you don't even realize it. Folks, if you haven't checked it out yet, please see our playlist on costume and fine jewelry. You'll see it at the end, a link at the end of this video. And also, if you want to stick around YouTube, we've got other channels. Postcard Planet, What Sold, and then the YouTube version of our podcast. Yes, we have a podcast. It's called the What Sold Podcast. You can stream it or you can see the video version here on YouTube. Check those out. Subscribe if you can, and hit that alert or whatever it is so that you'll know new videos are coming out. We'll be back real soon with some new exciting things for you. Take care, cousins. Be safe.
Beep, boop, boop.
Let's go make some money.
Rusty, rusty,
Rusty, have to.
rusty, rusty.
Rusty,